Hi everyone, welcome to the first webinar where we'll be inviting a proposer up on air to share their views on what they want to achieve here. So we have with us Attores, David, as well as Gaurang. We'll allow them to introduce themselves and give their proposal pitch. So David and Gaurang, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
So yeah, we are Attores. We are doing smart contracts as a service, and this is our DigixDAO proposal. A little bit of background as far as who we are. Gaurang, okay, there you go. So Gaurang is in control of the slide deck, and I'll be speaking for the portion of the slides. And then Gaurang is going to go ahead and give a demonstration of our POC. My name is David Moskowitz. I am the CEO and co-founder of Attores. Before starting up Attores with Gaurang, I was a Bitcoin broker here in Singapore, which I started the company back in 2013. And then that part of the business, the Bitcoin brokerage arm, was sold off in 2015. I'm also a board member of the local Singapore Cryptocurrency and Blockchain Industry Association. So I speak quite often on topics of Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, the future of where all this stuff is going. And my co-founder, Gaurang, we met about a year ago at an Ethereum meetup. We became friends, started talking about some interesting ideas. And then started up with this idea of doing smart contracts as a service. Gaurang has a lot of experience in startups. He has a master's degree from Singapore Management Universities, which is one of the top universities in Asia, specifically in information systems. And he's also been a mentor at various blockchain hackathons. So I was, of course, thrilled when we got together and started talking about doing something together. It was quite exciting. Another guy who's unfortunately not on the call with us today, he just got married last weekend, is Vincent. He's a treasury project manager over at Credit Suisse. He's helping us with some of the financial products. He knows a lot about creation of financial products as well as derivatives, how to do pricing modeling and stuff like that. Formerly, he was CFO for a Bitcoin trading platform. Some of you guys may know Magner, formerly known as BTCSX. So he worked for them for quite a number of years before going back to Credit Suisse. So we're also very fortunate to have him on board on the team. We also have a number of advisors that we haven't put down here, including Benjamin Chan from BitGo, as well as a lawyer, Nizam Ismail from RHT Law, who's one of the local renowned lawyer, partner in a law firm here, one of the largest law firms, and also a gentleman named Ian Miles, who's a startup entrepreneur himself, very well connected to everybody over here. So we're very fortunate as far as who we have working with us, helping us as we grow the business. Recently, we did join something called the FinLab, which is an accelerator which was set up by UOB, and which is a local bank, United Overseas Bank, in combination with IDA, Government Infocom Development Agency. So we're working with the bank portion of that to develop some smart contracts for them. We also talk to various financial institutions beyond them, insurance companies, all sorts of interesting companies that are interested in blockchain technology and how smart contracts and blockchain technology could be used in their industry. I also help organize the local Bitcoin meetup here in Singapore. Been doing that for a couple of years. Had some interesting events. I think the last one was on AgriLedger, which was an interesting ledger for agriculture for people in Africa. Before that, we had Simon Dixon. So we've had quite a few interesting people come over and talk. And then Gaurang is also co-organizer of the Ethereum meetup in Singapore. We're going to be having a meetup Thursday.
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Great, tomorrow. And I think Chris from Digix is going to be speaking there?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And also next week, we're going to have Vitalik speaking at the next one after that. So that should be quite exciting. So far we've been working on Attores for a few months now, and we've been kind of knee deep into writing code, into developing some smart contracts. We've been releasing these smart contracts as we go along as open source. We've been doing a lot of stuff for Digix tokens, Digix Gold, and also the Digix badges. We've created a couple of swap contracts for that you can swap them directly OTC with somebody else, so you can do it in a secure way without any sort of trusted intermediary getting in the middle of your transaction. So I think that that's been pretty exciting. We've definitely gotten some really good feedback on that. We've learned a few things as far as how to best do this. So that's helping us as we move ahead into building the platform. We're also going to be having a very interesting swap contract available for the DAO that'll let you sell your DAO token before the release date in a secure way as well, so that you can take a profit if you want prior to the release, or if you want to buy it for a price lower than what they're currently offering the DAO tokens at, you might be able to do that as well. So that'll be interesting. We should have that out in, I think, tomorrow or the day after. Goreng, is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
We're doing so actually, testing these contracts actually take quite a bit of time. So although we have the contract code written, we do need to run a lot of tests on it to make sure that there's no problems and all the edge cases are thought of. So for the DigixDAO, we can get right into what we're proposing here. We want to build a contract deployment platform that's going to allow you to deploy the contract directly onto the blockchain and also visualize the change of the states of the contract on the blockchain. So that's a lot of complicated words, a lot of ridiculous words that basically means you're going to be able to deploy various types of contracts that are going to allow you to swap your Digix tokens for other other crypto assets such as Ether and hopefully BTC. When BTC Relay is stable, we'll be adding that as well, and we'll talk about that a bit more in our milestones. We're also building some other really interesting instruments, for example, forward contracts that will allow you to swap Digix, DGX in the future based on the price of another asset, whether it be Ether or Bitcoin. So that one is really interesting, and I don't think anyone is currently doing anything like that. Another very cool one is binary options, where you're going to be able to bet on the price of something changing. Or I actually shouldn't say bet. You'll be able to make a prediction, speculate on the price of something happening in the future. It'll be a win-lose type of bet. And with that too, we also came up with a really interesting thing called parimutuel binaries, which Vincent came up with that one. We got to give him full credit for that, where you'll be able to make a series of predictions about future prices. So let's say tomorrow you think that the price of Ether is going to be above $15, and then the day after you think it's going to be below $15, and then the day after that you think it's going to be above $16. So you can make those series of predictions, and you, along with 10 other, 100 other people, could all put your Ether into that contract, and then, or I shouldn't say Ether, you can be able to put your DGX into that contract. Yeah, you'll be able to put your DGX into that contract, and then basically, as time goes on, the winner continues on. So it's a winner-take-all type of binary option. So you can possibly put in only one DGX token, and at the end of the 7 days, potentially take home quite a bit. So it's a really interesting instrument. And of course, we're also interested in any other exotic instruments that you guys can think of that you'd be interested in. We're definitely listening to the community on all of this and the types of things that you think is going to bring more trading onto the platform. As far as the state changes statement, that's basically keeping track of what's going on with the contract. Has it been filled? Which side of it's been filled? And keeping an order book up to date so that people can easily enter into each sides of these contracts. So this is an example of our contract interface that we have right now, our proof of concept for the platform interface. And we'll go into this in a little bit more detail when Goreng shows you the actual POC. You'll get to see this in action. But you can choose either to do the swap in DGX or in DGD or in a DGD badge, and you can swap that for Ether. So if you have experience with Mist, you know that you have to copy contract code, paste it into Mist, deploy that to the blockchain, watch the token, do all these different things in order to make it happen. And then you also have to verify if somebody else tells you that this contract is on the blockchain, you have to go out and you have to verify that the contract is actually what they say it is, which can be a little bit troublesome in some situations if they haven't yet verified the contract. So we want to make all that easier. We want to make it what we call a trusted platform deploying trustless contracts. So everything that we're going to be deploying is going to be verifiable on the blockchain. But in addition to that, we're going to be verifying these contracts because we're going to be deploying them. So there'll be a certain amount of trust in us to deploy the proper contract, but you don't have to trust in us because we're going to actually be verifying these directly on the blockchain. You'll be able to go to Etherscan and verify the contract content itself. Okay, if we go to the next one here. So this is what happens after you've deployed the contract. You'll be able to verify the details of the contract and confirm it. And then you'll need to send Ether in order to have that contract deployed. And in the future, we would like to integrate a wallet into this as well, a browser-based wallet, for example, what the guys over at Digix are working on, either through their API or integrating our own wallet into the system so that you can deploy it directly from your own wallet without having to necessarily run Geth if you don't want to. That's also one of the things that we see as a current problem with the existing either X or MakerDAO, that you need to run Geth as well. Okay, so a quick overview of the platform itself. So users are going to come on the site and they're going to create some sort of registration, and then they're going to be able to basically deploy that contract. This payment for contract, it's a little bit in the wrong spot. We were thinking originally to do some sort of subscription model where you would pay upfront in order to be able to deploy so many contracts, but we actually think a better way to do it is to write the contract and then make the payment specifically when you want to deploy it. But we could work backwards into the SaaS model as well. So that'll bring you into a user dashboard, which is going to show you the contracts that you've written or the contracts that are available as well if you go into the order book. So initially, we'll probably be deploying a number of our own contracts so that people can enter into either side of these until the volume picks up a little bit. And we'll definitely be looking for market makers as well. If any of you guys are interested in being market makers on the platform, we'd definitely like to talk to you about that. But we'll probably be initially deploying a number of contracts in order to fill up that order book. This way you can enter it into either side of the contract. From here, then, we'll also be keeping a locally stored copy of the contracts, just caching them for speed. This way, the system doesn't have to keep looking up on the blockchain for the deployed contracts. We'll have a local copy of it. But again, you will be able to go directly into the blockchain and verify that this contract has been deployed and the conditions within the contract or the code within the contract to verify that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. With this too, with something like a forward contract, we do need an outside oracle telling us what the outside world information is, because as most of you guys I think know, the blockchain kind of exists on its own. It doesn't understand outside world data, so you have to feed it some data from an oracle. So we're going to be using reality keys to feed in this information. We'll be looking for...
Actually, we would be using oracleize and or reality keys, one of them. So I've been having discussions with people, so they are recommending oracleize better than reality keys. Okay,
so yeah, so if oracleize is better, we'll definitely use that, and we'll also be looking at other oracles as they come along, especially when you start to go into some of these more exotic instruments. We'll need to find more stable oracles as well. And that's going to be working off of a cron job that has to periodically ping the contracts in order to verify their date of execution. So that, again, that's why we're going to need a secondary database in order to keep track of when we need to be pinging these contracts. But in addition to that, the user could also, or people outside in the blockchain can also ping the contract to check whether or not it should be executed. So there's always an outside way that any of these contracts can be executed and paid out. Gaurang, do you have any comments as far as the platform overview?
Yeah, so along with the cron jobs, I'm also thinking of using the Alarm smart contract. So I haven't explored it fully, but I think that can be used instead of a cron job so that we can keep some kind of a tab on all these things that we have to do, and then we can bring the smart contract. So yeah, that's it from the side. So we can go to the next slide.
Okay, so the big question of this is what's the benefit for the DGD holders? So as we increase the trade volume of DGX on the platform, those fees go directly to the DigixDAO holders. So we think that the more interesting instruments that we can put on the platform, the more interesting contracts that we can come up with, the more transaction volume there's going to be for the DGX and ultimately for the DGX or for the DGD token holders. Also, we'll be providing an API to both of these things, to both the order book as well as the contract creation. So if you have an interesting way to deploy these contracts, or you have an interesting way to show an order book, you'll be able to do that. So in addition to the transaction fees from the DGX, what we were talking about before was doing a 20% of deployment fees for Digix assets. So whenever anyone writes a contract and it has a Digix asset in it, we would be paying a part of the premium that we'd be charging on the deployment fee to the user, and that would flow into the DigixDAO holder through an escrow account, which would be paid out to the DigixDAO holders. However, we have gotten a lot of feedback from the community on this, so we think we've come up with another model for how to do this to make it more interesting for those. And we'll get to that in the next screen. Overall, though, I think that the real benefit, or one of the other key benefits to DGD holders, is the ability to do P2P exchanges, and you're removing yourself from the current problem of exchange risk. And just when we think that's somewhat been solved, we seem to have another situation where an exchange has a problem. So we're doing what we can to help try to reduce that, to build a system that creates trustless transactions between users. Overall, we think that this is going to increase the liquidity of all the Digix assets, not only DGX, but also the tokens and the badges. And also what's interesting about this is no personal information is required to trade on this platform. So we're in a very fortunate place as far as Singapore, where this is an intangible asset. And I'm certainly not giving legal advice on this, but from what I understand, intangible assets are not regulated here. And since we're doing crypto to crypto, that's another level of safety for you. And also, we're not actually controlling any funds for the users. The blockchain is executing all the transactions, as well as the contracts are holding the funds for the users. So I think it's a very safe platform to use. So we've definitely taken some feedback from the users, especially on the Slack channel. So we are modifying the terms or the transaction fees for on-chain DGX swaps. Since if we do get approval for this proposal, we would be getting funds on a milestone basis. So I think during that period where we are receiving payments from the DAO, I don't think we should be getting deployment fees. All those fees should be going to the Digix assets, and we can actually set this up to be a set period if that's what you guys are interested in. I was originally thinking that we should do it for specific to the milestone period, and then once basically the payments for the contract work is up, we could then move to a fee structure where we would be taking the lower part of the fee, and that would increase on a yearly basis, and this would help us also as far as maintenance of the system. As far as that goes as well, we would need to also talk about that in the future because Ethereum and its code does change over time, and it's going to take some maintenance as far as after the period of the contract period. I think that covers it as far as that. So let's talk a little bit about milestones. And I know I'm going through this awfully quick, so I apologize. We definitely do want to have some time for questions at the end. So please bear with me as I kind of go through all this stuff. So for milestones, we're looking to release the swaps in the order book fairly quickly, along with a public release of that as soon as possible after, once all the code's been tested and it's been. We'll initially start with some alpha testing, moving on to beta testing, and then open it up to the public. And then we'll go ahead and start working on the forward contracts. So again, we do currently have actually a beta, or not a beta, I would say a POC version of swaps, as well as a POC version of forwards. So I think we can move to beta on this fairly quickly, but we definitely do need to do some robust testing on that code. And then come along milestone 2 as we get into some more of the interesting exotic stuff, the binaries. In this case, it would be the single trade binary. In milestone 3, we'll move on to the parimutuel binaries, which are going to be a bit more complex. but I think it's going to really be interesting as far as trading volume and interest from the community. And then as we move ahead into milestone 4, we'll start adding some more indexes to trade against. So right now we're looking at the NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange and China A50. This is going to be somewhat dependent upon the available data feed. Over here in Singapore, we do have the A50 on the SGX data feed. However, that's a little bit of a problem as far as getting from them. So we'll have to figure out a stable way to get that data feed in order to do the Oracle for that. So we definitely like, though, to get some popular indexes to trade against, as well as some interesting Forex pairs later on in that milestone. So as soon as we can, though, we want to get some feedback from the community, though, on these different milestones and hear what you guys think of it. We've basically picked the most popular trading indexes and the most popular Forex pairs to trade against. It's possible we could add something like some commodities, some additional commodities. For example, I know oil is quite popular, so we could look at that as well. Then as far as additional milestones, as soon as BTC Relay becomes stable, we'd like to integrate that as well to really open up the platform to a wider audience so that people are not just trading with Ether on the platform, but they can also trade with BTC, and then they can move BTC into DGX using this trustless system. And then as soon as the Digix API Lite wallet is available, we'd like to integrate that as well, so you can easily move from your Digix wallet onto the contracts. So if we take a look at the budget here, I think that our budget projections are quite reasonable as far as costs. These are actually quite low, I believe, as far as cost of developers as well as management of the project. I know a blockchain developer, the prices for a blockchain developer are insane at this point. I read one article that some guys were asking for almost $250,000 per year for work at a bank. So I think that these monthly costs are quite reasonable, and we'll actually be taking on some of that cost as well, because we are building a platform that is also eventually going to be targeting institutions, financial institutions, and stuff like that. So we are having some shared costs with that as well as we have discussions with these other industries. So we're going to go ahead and take on those costs. But as far as the cost to the DigixDAO, we are focused on these costs specific to that, and I think that these are quite reasonable for that. So if we go up here, so as far as the DAO payout structure, we are looking for an upfront payment of $15,000 to start moving from the POC into the beta testing of the swaps and the forwards. Once those are completed, then for each milestone after, we're going to be looking at the payment of $57,350, and that'll run through the 4th milestone. And then the 5th and 6th milestone are for the BTC Relay and the Digix Lite Wallet API integration. So based on the numbers that we've gotten from what DGX has stated, we believe that the break-even estimate to be about 218 million in DGX trades, and that's based primarily on the 0.13% fee on the DGX trades. That doesn't include deployment fees, so we definitely would need to factor that back in now that we've been discussing that, but that should bring the break-even down a little bit from there. So it's also possible that that the ROI will increase with the different instruments. For example, if we get a lot of trading on binaries or the parimutuel binaries, that could bring the ROI up a bit quicker. So as I said earlier, in addition to building the platform itself, we're going to be building it based off of APIs so that other things can be built on top of it. I know some other proposals have talked about other projects, and I think that some of those other projects could actually be built on top of what we're doing.
David, I would like to add that although we are building a web client and a GUI layer on top of this API, actually you can connect any type of web client with this, or even a mobile client. Or even we are thinking you can maybe connect chatbots with this. So just imagine on Slack you are seeing that, hey, I want to trade Digix today, and then chatbot asks you, hey, how many do you want to trade for, and all this stuff, and you immediately get your contract deployed just by speaking with the chatbot. I think that would be a great future, and that's my vision. So I want to make it as easy to deploy these special types of contracts as possible. David, please go ahead.
So we definitely do need to talk about some of the risks for the DGD holders. So there is the potential that the platform won't get enough volume, or will have a very limited relationship with an increase in volume. It's also possible that the order books won't have enough liquidity to take on orders, or that ultimately it's possible that we're unable to complete a specific milestone in the project. I think that as far as the failure to complete, that would be somewhat limited as far as problems, because the contracts that have been deployed onto the blockchain will still execute, and we're only receiving payment upon completion of a milestone. So there's somewhat limited risk as far as completion of the project. So as far as communicating with us, you probably have seen us on the Digix channel already. We also have our own Slack, which we invite you to join. You can email Goreng if you have any technical questions. He's the CTO of the company, or myself. I'm David. You can contact me as well. Yeah, we look forward to any questions or comments you have on our proposal.
Okay, so guys, now I'd quickly like to show you the demo of the POC that we have worked on. So please note that, sorry, yeah.
I just want to open the floor for questions. If you have any questions, just key your questions under the question tab. We will be inviting a speaker from Slack, Mohammed. Mohammed is currently on the call right now. He will join in on the Q&A after.
So guys, please note that this is just a POC. It's not production ready right now. Also, we are currently working on the order book, and that will be added shortly. We would like to show that demo as well later on. So we had actually released a video of this screen share, and we have got a lot of feedback on that as well. So we are working on a new video. So to begin with, I just want to start with the demo. So currently we have two templates. One is the forward contracts and one is the swap contracts. So in our system, it's as easy to create a swap contract as just filling in 4 or 5 values and deploying the contract. So in this case, we can start off with 2 digital assets. One is Bitcoin and one is Ether. So if you just click on Bitcoin, you get the spot price of Bitcoin. We are getting this through the Kraken API, but as Chris has suggested, we can also get this through Oracleize or with other oracles. Then you select the execution type, you select the settlement price, and agree. So essentially, in this case, what you are saying is, after 7 days, you are speculating that the price of Bitcoin is going to be $460. So with this data, you can deploy a contract. So now at the backend, the contract got submitted to the blockchain. So I just have my private node running on my machine currently. So this is the contract that got deployed. You get the contract address. And now while we using two of our old friends, Alice and Bob. For all of you crypto geeks out there, you might know these guys very nicely. Alice always wants to send Bob some private key or some sort of any other messages, and she wants to encrypt it. And there's always a man in the middle. So anyway, jokes apart. Now, in this case, anyone out of Alice or Bob can choose to go short or long. So for this demo, we are assuming that Bob is going short and Alice is going long on this forward contract or on this speculation. So just to demonstrate that, we have 2 buttons here. When I click on short it will send 10 Ether to this contract as a margin. So now we are waiting for the blockchain to mine the transaction, and yeah, once we refresh this, we can see that the short bet is 10 right now, and now the long guy can pay it, or the long wait for a few moments, and now you see that the short party has paid 10 Ether in this contract, and the long party has paid 10 Ether. So the contract contains 22 right now because we have paid some Ether for the gas fees. Now, in this case, we just have this demo with 2 people, but we are also working on a forward contract, a more exotic contract, in which multiple people can participate as short and long, and then we can pay out based on a FIFO method, that is a first in, first out. So now, let's just assume that today it's 31st, and the price of Bitcoin has gone above 460. So this long guy has won it. So now we can just say payout. And then my contract code will pay out both the parties based on who is winning this. So in reality, as David explained earlier, I'll have a lot of cron jobs running or the alarm smart contract running, which will look at the current date and the current price using an oracle, and then it will ping all these forward contracts that have been deployed. So now you can see that the Ether balance of both Bob and Alice will be changing. That changed now. So along with this, we are working on an order book which will go below here. It will show all the current transactions and the liquidity in the market. So how many people are going short, how many people are going long, or we can even show ask and bid prices. So now I'll move to the second template, which is a swap contract. So as many of you might know, I have released 3 swap contract templates, one called DGX Gold, DGT tokens, and DGT badges. Obviously, I won't be showing that right now. In this case, I have just deployed some tokens on my own machine on the private testnet. So just to demonstrate that, to create a smart contract right now in my system, you just choose the type of token, maybe a DGT token or the fixed gold token. You put the selling price, in this case, let's put 1 Ether, and the number of tokens that you want to send to the contract. And you see create. So again, the contract will be deployed to the blockchain. And here you can see that the contract has been deployed. And now this seller, he has 10,000 tokens currently. What he can do is he can send 100 tokens to this swap contract. At the moment, you can see that the swap contract now contains 100 tokens. Now, on the other end, anyone can pay any amount to this swap contract and get the equivalent number of tokens. So in this case, if the buyer wants to buy 10 tokens, he can send 10 Ether, 11 tokens, he can send 11 Ether, or whatever. Just to demonstrate that, you can send some Ether to this contract. And you can see that buyer has got 11 tokens, and the swap contract contains 89 tokens. So this is just a very simple demo. As I told in case of the forward contract, we are also working on a much more complicated swap contract with multiple buyers and multiple sellers. Also, one good thing is that we can also handle decimal places in this. So in case of DGT tokens, we can handle up to 10 decimal places, and you can also swap. So these are the 2 templates that we have currently. I think that's the end of my demo. David, do you want to add anything?
So yeah, I think in the first part of the forward contract, you showed that it was a forward contract for Ether, but in the actual beta and public release, it would be for DGX.
Yes, that's right. So this is just a demo. In the real thing, we'll be having forward contracts with Digix, DGT, and all these things. Okay, David.
Yep. So if you guys have any questions, we're happy to talk more.
So Sean, I'll stop sharing my screen now, if that's okay.
Right, let me unmute Mohammed.
Okay, sure.
Okay, Mohammed, just before that, we have one question from our questions tab. Noah is asking, how are you handling verifications here? If someone is placing those binary options, how can you prove that Ether above $15 today and over $16?
They mentioned that they were going to use Oracleize for the pricing, or some other external Oracle to provide that, right?
Yes. Yeah, so Oracleize has TLS notary too, which is a layer on top of SSL TLS.
I think the issue with Oracleize is that you have to pay for the feed, right? So
yeah, that's the problem.
You gotta set 1 cent per call, so that's gonna you have to factor that into the your design and how you're gonna do that.
Right. So we will have to think about that. So that's why I was actually thinking of using reality keys, which is free. But then Chris was saying that reality keys might have some issues as well. So I'm still trying to figure it out which one to use.
Right, sure. Yeah. Mohammed or anyone from Digix team, you have any questions to them?
Hi, I hope you guys can hear me.
Yep, we can hear you. Yeah.
All right, great. So I've listed out 3 questions that I'd like to ask. Firstly would be, in and around the blockchain space, this is the first time I'm hearing the term cron job. Could you elaborate on that?
Okay, sure. So
yeah, cron jobs are basically periodic jobs that so in the systems world, we have what's called a cron job, and that's basically a scheduler on Unix systems and Windows systems that you basically set some jobs to run every hour, every 5 minutes, or every week, once a week. Those are
Right.
usually for system backups, but they can also be used for doing like reconciliations, updating price feed data, those type of
Okay.
things are done as a cron job. So in Ethereum, there's several ways that you can do that because there is no way for a contract to call out by its own. So it has to be like, so anything that is done in Ethereum has to be done from an external account. It cannot be triggered by a contract itself. Because
Okay.
if that were the case, then contracts could run infinitely, right? And it could
Yeah.
use up a lot of gas. So like every transaction has to be initiated from a third party person, like an account, a real account. And one way to do that is through basically creating some kind of a way to incentivize people to call. Basically, they spend the gas to call some function on the contract to start off, the execution of what you want to do. So in the case of Oracleize, it's a service that they provide where you can basically set a URL for a data feed, and then whatever that data feed gives you, that Oracleize will publish it onto the blockchain for you. And
Okay.
they provide cryptographic signatures with SSL to prove that yes, they did access this site and data did come from this site that was running SSL. So that's one of it. But the issue with Oracleize is it's a pricey way of doing it because the minimum price is actually the base price is 1 cent per call, I believe.
Yeah,
So
the
every time
base
you
price
call,
is
it's
1 cent. Yeah.
and if you're doing that quite regularly, it could
Yeah.
your price could increase.
Are any other alternatives in mind, or is Oracleize it the option
Okay, so
that?
It's the most
realistically,
trustless way of doing it. You can do it centralized feeds where you have like a background job somewhere running on a server, and then that has a key that can publish the price feed. So that's one approach. Of course, that also costs someone ultimately has to take has to eat that cost.
Exactly. So actually see what we think is that in case of Oracleize, people are ready to pay the gas fees for the transactions, and so using a similar model, I think Attores can start getting some deployment fees along with the gas fees for the contract. I think that should work. Definitely.
I think
Okay.
just a simple price feed as a service would actually work because that could be used. So anybody outside could request an update, and it would be sort of like they would subsidize for that time period. For example, I need the price for gold dollar XAU USD pair for the 8 hours that I'm in business, then I can pay for that, and others can use that service as well. So it'd be like a community
Okay.
type of pool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an approach.
Actually, Anthony, on that point, we had one more good idea put forth by Chris that even we guys can be considered as an Oracle, and we can start our own Oracle service. That's in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're working on a gold price feed right now, so you guys might be able to use that. But the thing is, like, that has to be set as a standard. So I think that we need to start, drafting a standard that can be used, throughout Digix and throughout all the other Ethereum ecosystem apps that are going to be built in the future. So something like, like we have the token standard, we might have to have a price feed standard as well.
Yeah, MakerDAO also working on the same problem with a price feed.
Yeah, a DAO
contract.
could even be built around it, where they get the benefits of executing a price feed check with Oracleize, and that's paid for. I mean, because it is big business, right? Price feeds are big business. Bloomberg is is a Fortune 500 company, and all they do is publish price feed data.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is an opportunity there. I think for.
All right. Yeah. My last question, I think, is two parts, which is the dividends that the DAO would gain from funding this project. Would it only be from transactions that take place with Digix global-based assets like DGD, DGX, and proposal badges, or would it be for every single asset that Attores supports now and in the future?
I'm sorry, what
the second part of the question?
Yeah,
I just asked the
his
first part.
question is, do we benefit? So if Attores builds this and they add different types of instruments, the DigixDAO holders only benefit from the Digix related transactions, or do you also benefit from, for example, there's an Ether BTC pair that people are trading, like will Digix also benefit from that, or is it only for Digix related transactions?
So yeah, actually, Mohammed, we are still thinking about it, but I think yeah, so we are actually open to discussions. I and David have been discussing this for the entire day. So, David, what do you think about this?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I mean, in general, the more assets that we can add to it, the better. The more trading is going to be taking part, and eventually that'll flow into people trading DGX and other Digix assets as well. We haven't finalized where we stand on that yet. Obviously, as a company, we need to figure out a revenue model beyond just the contract work. So yeah, let's just. I think we should just leave it at we're still trying to figure that out, especially after discussing the deployment fee part of it today with a lot of people.
The second part of my question is what I asked in the Slack earlier, which is the 20% payout that the DigixDAO will get off of funding pretty much most of Attores. And given that my previous question that you just answered, if we're going to be funding that much, right? I'm not sure. I myself might be able to rationalize it, but I'm not sure if the community would accept funding you guys to that degree and still be left up in the air as to whether they will gain any sort of dividends or whatever you want to call it from the other instrument that your swap contract deals with.
Right.
Yeah,
As far as funding up to now, so we've been actually working on the smart contracts for a few months now. Most of that funding came out of so I had sold my other company and put some into this to help develop this, as well as when we entered FinLab, we did receive some investment from the accelerator. So it's not just it wouldn't just be the Digix funding that we're working with, and it's not just the trading platform itself that we're developing.
Okay.
So yeah, there needs. I definitely hear where you guys are coming from, but I think what we're developing is a deployment engine, as well as a state contract management system, and I think we need to kind of separate out what part is what for Digix.
So
Yeah, I think
on this point, I was thinking that.
I think if the funding is only going to be solely used for the Digix related integrations, then that would make sense, right? But if you guys are also using to fund the rest of the product that you're building, then Digix should see some benefits out of that as well. I think that would be.
Yeah. Let me make it clear. Sorry, guys. Let me make it clear that we would be working on Digix mostly for the next 1 year. This trading platform especially. So we'll be having a domain trade.attores.com. So we want to use this funding for that trading platform specifically, and hence we want to give out the revenue from that trading platform to maybe we might do some small consulting here and there. That might be the case, but this trading platform will be a main focus for the next 1 year.
Yeah, I think that probably needs to be clarified a bit. So thank you for saying that, Garang. So I mean the funding from Digix would go specifically towards the trading platform.
All right, then I have a question for Anthony. Then in this case is because I'm not very technical, and Anthony might be able to better answer this, if this funding goes into only the Digix-based integrations, what I would like to know as a supporter is if these kind of integrations were made to Digix, could they easily for Digix could they easily be ported onto for other instruments? In which case, that's a moot point. So if you're only going to, you know what? So do you get my question? I hope it was clear.
Yeah, obviously it could be repurposed for any other thing.
Yeah, exactly. So in that case, it still seems like I'm getting the short end of the deal here.
So yeah, Mohammed, that's why we are open to discussions about this. And so essentially what I'm saying is on the trading platform, we can have multiple assets apart from Digix, right?
Yeah.
So on the trading platform, we can share the revenue. So we are open to discuss about that. We don't want to be unfair to anybody, and obviously.
No, I don't think you want to be unfair either.
Yeah, I think that this is something that you guys need to work through, and then in the next, I don't know what the formats are for these presentations. Do you guys do another one after some time, or?
Definitely. I mean, we're going to take the feedback that you guys are giving us and work on our proposal.
Yeah.
So definitely appreciate the points that you're making.
Okay. Yeah, and we can have another schedule for.
I think that sufficed. And to be very, very clear, I'm not trying to be antagonizing or anything. I like this concept. I think it could do very, very well.
Thank you, Mohammed. And
No,
Mohammed,
we
I
definitely,
really
we definitely appreciate the questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mohammed. That was actually very good. It made me also think that we should approach this.
And guys, I would like to mention specifically that Mohammed has been really helping us a lot with all his feedback. So he watches the videos and the proposals very nicely and meticulously points out the mistakes. That's really helpful for us.
Right. We don't see any more further questions from the public here. Do you have any other questions, Chris or Anthony? All right. Yeah, I believe that we will have another webinar again sometime on Friday. This will be confirmed. Attores may be coming on air again to speak on that. If there is a revision on the proposal, we will keep you guys notified on the Slack channel and on webinars.digix.io.
And there's an Attores Slack chat room as well, I believe.
Yeah. So Attores Slack chat room is hashtag DigixDAO _Attores. You can find it under the channels. Just search one of the channel. You can find them. There are a couple of them, Attores, InnoCoin. So just join the relevant ones and speak right up to the founders of the project. David and Gaurang, do you have anything else to add, or else we're going to wrap this up?
Just thank you to the community. Thank you to everyone who participated on the call. We absolutely appreciate your feedback. If for any reason that you're not happy with something that we're doing, please let us know, and we'll definitely try to improve it. If you have ideas for any interesting instruments, let us know. We're always open to suggestions.
Yeah, so on that point, I would like to add that we are always open to suggestions on the reward structure or the payment mechanisms. So I don't want this proposal to get stuck because of that. I really believe in this idea. And
I think you guys are getting close to where you guys need to be. It's just making sure that it's clear to the DAO holders.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's definitely the first pitch. It's definitely not going to be perfect, but I think this was really well done. And we look forward to having more of such pitches coming